This is WPTV.
Welcome back to the desk. Before we discuss our current Pioneers, we have the latest news about a now former Pioneer. Joe?
Jerry Flora is out as William Patterson head coach for the football team after a disastrous 2017 season. The team finished winless for only the second time in school history and the first time since 1993. In fact, 1993 was a magical year for the Pioneers. Sure, they only made it to the second round of the playoffs, but that was the last year the Pioneers made the playoffs, and the last time they won more than 5 games. After being named head coach in 2008, Flora ends his tenure with a 33-67 record and at no point finished over 500. Sources close to the team tell me that there was a rift in the coaching staff and that one coach even told a player he wanted Flora gone. Flora still has 1 year left on his contract and reportedly will work with the university outside of football. As for the head coaching vacancy, defensive coordinator and former New York Giant Shawn Williams is expected to be announced.
So we heard some stuff last week, and we got an official statement from our athletic director, Heather Brocious, earlier in the week, and now Joe is dropping the bomb on us. Jerry Flora is no longer coaching the football team here, and it looked like Shawn Williams will be stepping in to the program. So tell me, Justin, is this going to be good from the program moving forward?
I think long-term it could be because Shawn Williams played defense in the NFL, so he's defensive-minded. The team, if you look at the season, they're stronger on the defensive side of the ball. So that they have a coach who's defensive-minded could help the team long-term.
Right, Jesse.
You know, when you look over the past 3 years and you look at that record, that's 4-26. This team clearly was not getting better. It was needed for a change of direction. As Justin said, the defense was clearly the strong point of the team. They were just out there for 40 minutes a game. Let's hope it gets better.
I mean, they were steadily getting worse over the past 4 or 5 seasons. I think we all saw this move coming. It's not a surprise to most of us, but I do like the replacement, choosing Shawn Williams. Good choice.
Yeah, without a doubt. Unfortunately, Chris and I won't be here to see it through, but you two are going to see it through. We've seen a lot of losing football, like Joe said, 33-67 in his career. We've seen talent come and go. Do you think this team next year is still going to have a short leash because they've had a winless season this year, but they have a new coach coming in, a new program? If they finish 2-8, do you think there's still a justification to be upset?
I don't think so, as long as you see growth and development. Like last year, they kept pulling quarterbacks in and out if they made a mistake. If they just stick to one quarterback, Cornelius Kinchin had a great showing towards the end of the year. If they stick with him and just let him grow, if he has those growing pains as a young quarterback, but if he gets better, I think that justifies it.
Jesse?
As Justin said, it's all about the growth. Honestly, if we go 1-9, somewhere around there, it's better than 0-10. We need to see some type of improvement, even if it doesn't go directly towards wins, as long as there's some development among the players.
No doubt. Some growth. We've seen some growth. Moving back to the hardwood now. The women unfortunately lost on Wednesday. They dropped that one against TCNJ. But fortunately, the Pirates have clinched a playoff berth. So let's take a look at the numbers from Wednesday. They lost that game 64-56, and you see where they kind of bit them in the end. In the second chance points, that was the biggest takeaway for me. The Lions had 12 second chance points to the Pioneers 4. Coincidentally, they lose by 8, and the second chance point spread was missing by 8. They didn't get a lot of opportunities at the free throw line, that's the Pioneers, and they didn't convert when they did have those opportunities, and neither team took care of the ball well. So unfortunately, they lost that one, but let's look ahead now. They're going to be moving on to the playoffs regardless what the next 2 games are going to be looking like, and there's 5 teams ahead of them right now. William Patterson is 6. We'll get to it. Montclair State is 15-1 in the NJAC, and just to mention, they're 20-2 overall, and there's a good chance we're going to see them playing in the national tournament. TCNJ sits at 13-3 in the conference. This is where it gets interesting. You have Stockton University at 11-5, Rutgers Camden at 11-5, and Rowan at 10-6. William Patterson's at the 6th spot at 9-7. Canes mathematically eliminated. They only have 6 wins, and they have to catch up with 3 wins, 2 games left. It's impossible. So William Patterson can finish as low as 6 or as high as 3. Now, they can play any of these teams here. What do you think is the best matchup for William Patterson?
I like Rutgers Camden. They beat him the first time around the season. They play him tomorrow night here. So if they can beat him tomorrow, they sweep the season series, they can ride that wave of momentum into a possibly first-round matchup. Obviously, things work, so if they implement the same game plan, it could help them out.
I personally like Stockton. I think Stockton is very big, but the William Patterson Pioneer female team, also big. We have Tori Wetzel, Brianna Brooks, Deanna DeFrank. It's a solid matchup for us, and if we were able to beat Sasha Williams in her last game, it would be a nice little bittersweet feeling since she's destroyed this team so much over the years.
Any chance you can avoid Montclair State is a win. That's the one team that they cannot play. If they finish in this 6th spot, season's pretty much over. I mean, Montclair State, we've seen them play. You and me were on the call the first time they played them, Justin. They only won by about 11 points, but we knew that that game was a little bit wider margin than it should have been. And Montclair State's a really good basketball team, so you really have to avoid them. TCNJ is the matchup that I would point to. Haven't beat them yet. I like our matchup against them, though.
Yeah, Montclair State is a very good basketball team. Unfortunately, you find the Pioneers in a situation where the future is out of their control. And I have to agree with Chris. As long as they can escape the 6th seed, I think they'll be smooth sailing. But they're going to run into Montclair State eventually because, without a doubt, Montclair State's been the favorite the last couple of years, and they're going to be the favorite this year. So moving on to the men, they have a lot of work to do. They also played TCNJ on Wednesday, and they also dropped that matchup. They lost that one 74-70, and they had similar issues to the women, except this was a little more exaggerated. They lose the one 74-70, only 5 free throw attempts for the men to 27 free throw attempts for the Lions. Second chance opportunities, 2 points for the Pioneers, 17 points for the Lions. The Pioneers did a really good job of taking care of the basketball, but when you give up 15 extra second chance points and 22 more free opportunities at the free throw line, it's hard to beat anyone in this conference. Now, most importantly, the men still have some games left to play, and they have to fight their way into the playoffs. They're 1 game behind with 2 games left. They have to win out, and again, they can't control their destiny. But what do you advise them to do to make sure they can find themselves in the playoff picture?
Down in the second half, how many times have we seen it where they blow a lead and just get into foul trouble? That's exactly what happened again in that game. They got into foul trouble late, and they just give many free opportunities. So if they can play cleaner down the stretch of the game, they can easily not choke, essentially what they have done. How many times this season have we seen it where they blow a 5-point lead and lose by 5?
Yeah, it's happened quite a bit.
Since the men ripped off that 5-game win streak from the December to January, they've won and then lost back-to-back for about like a 4-game stretch. And the thing I noticed is back when we won those 5 straight, 24 average 3-point attempts a game. We're down to 17 over the past about 8 games. You got to get those 3 back up.
The free throws. How many times do we see at the end of the game this team doesn't hit their free throws and we're giving the other team more opportunities at the free throw line? And also, defensive rebounding, it was a huge, huge problem in this game. Seemed like they were grabbing boards, going right back up with it, and getting easy points the entire game. They got to box out and then make their free throws. I feel like they're always losing the free throw battle every single game.
If they get back to their elite 3-point shooting ways, just real quick, if they make it to the 6th spot, do you think they can make some noise in the NJ?
They easily could, but the problem with their 3-point is they have to take an absurd amount of threes for them to fall. If they're limited to about 10 or so a game, they're not hitting their percentages. They need to take an extreme amount in order for them to run effectively the offense they want to run.
3 is better than 2, and if we can knock down at an extreme clip, we have a chance with any team in the nation.
If they're hitting the threes, I have no problem with them shooting them, but they can steer away from the threes. I feel like it's not just based on the amount of 3-point field goals, you know, win or loss determined in the end. I think it's a little bit more than that, but if Sean Smith's hitting, you know he has the ultimate green light, so let him pull from anywhere.
Without a doubt. We will see you where we are a week from today. Unfortunately, that's all it does for Pioneer Sports. Don't go anywhere because the professional basketball crew is back with a ton of trade deadline action.